everyone, it's me Luthfia. In the previous video, we have discussed about listening test. So today we are going to learn about speaking test. There are some types of speaking tests that can be applied or used in a classroom. These include limited response, guided techniques, and oral interviews. Let's start with the first type of speaking test. It is called limited response. Limited response can be done in some ways. The first is directed response. Do you know what is directed response means? So it is almost similar to imitation with some modification. In a directed response task, the teacher will give the student a clue or instruction, and the student should respond the teacher's clue or the teacher's instruction by speaking. As you can see on the screen, this is the example of directed response test. In the test, the teacher will say, "Tell me that you speak English." So the student should respond what has been said by the teacher by speaking. And the student's response will be or should be, "I speak English." Another example in the test, the teacher can say, "Ask her what time is it?" Ask her what time it is. And the student's response will be, or "Could you tell me the time, please?" So that's about directed response. The second types of limited response in speaking test is picture cue. Do you know what is picture cue? So picture cue test is a test in which the teacher will give the student a picture and ask the student some question related to the picture. As you can see in the screen, this is the example of picture cue test. So the teacher will give this picture to the students, and the teacher will ask some question to the student according to the picture. For example, what are they? So the student should answer the teacher's question according to the picture. Or the teacher can ask, what did they do? That is about picture cue. The last type of limited response in speaking test is reading aloud. So in a reading aloud test, the teacher will give the student a reading passage and the students are required to read the passage loudly. Limited response has some advantages and limitations. The advantages of limited response include, first, these include useful techniques for those with limited language skill. The second, these techniques are generally not threatening. Often the subject matter and even the structure and vocab are provided. The third, there is a tendency for these to be interesting and lifelike. Generally, they have rather good face validity, that is, they appear to measure what they claim to be measured. On the other hand, the limitations of limited response in speaking tests include, first, there is not always a direct relationship between speaking proficiency and ability to read aloud or imitate. The second, student response are somewhat difficult to evaluate, particularly extended speech. That's about limited response. Now we will move to the second type of speaking test. It is called guided techniques. There are three types of guided techniques: paraphrase, explanation, and guided role play. The first is paraphrase. Do you know what is paraphrase test? So paraphrase in speaking test can be done by the teacher with a passage and ask the student to retell about the passage or the passage that has been read by the teacher by their own word. The second is explanation. Explanation in speaking test can be done by the teacher asks the student to read a passage, and after that, the teacher should retell about the passage that has been read. The third is guided role play. Guided role play can be done by the teacher give situation to the student and asks the student to give response according to the situation. Guided technique also has some advantages and limitations. Advantages of guided techniques include, first, these allow greater freedom of response than to controlled techniques. The second, this helps to get a higher level methods such as cognitive expression and appropriate response. On the other hand, the limitations of guided techniques include first, the most open-ended techniques can be rather difficult to score, and the second, sometimes factors other than speaking ability can interfere with result factors such as memory, reading ability, and personality. Also, since tests are given individually, sometimes one student helps prepare another student for what to say. That's about guided techniques. Now we will move to the third types of speaking tests. It is called oral interview. Do you know what is oral interview test? So oral interview can be done by giving the students some questions and ask them to answer the question correctly. It can be yes or no question or WH question. The level of difficulty of items or any given interview should vary both to maintain student confidence and the flow of the interview, and also to provide an opportunity for the teacher to see how competent the student really is. For upper intermediate to advanced students, the interview can be concluded with a challenging item on some contemporary social issue. So this is the simple task, one of the simple tests in speaking tests. So the teacher only asks some question to the student and the student have to answer the teacher's question. And the questions are vary according to the level of the students. Oral interview also has some advantages and limitations. The advantages of oral interview include it can be one of the most communicative of all language examination. It is remarkably flexible in terms of item tests that can be included, and the scoring tend to be more consistent and simple than the scoring of many guided techniques items. On the other hand, the limitation of oral interviews include it is rather time consuming, particularly if taped and scored later. It is deceptively easy for it to become a simple question and answer session. So that's all about speaking tests. If you have any questions or comment, you can drop it in the comment section below. See you in the next video. Goodbye.